Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. My name is Sergey and I'm the owner of ninaandvova Custom Jewelry. We make custom engagement rings and the wedding bands. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about the very important part of the engagement ring, and this is the gemstone cut. Why do we want to know this information? First of all, what is effect? Also, we're going to be talking about the different cuts. I'm going to go through the most common cuts out there, and I will tell you what stones work the best with a certain cuts and why do you want to pick one or another. But first of all, let's talk about the cuts themselves. Why do we want to know this information in the first place? Well, the big why here has three answers. First of all, it's a brilliance, second is the color, and third is the tone. And let me explain you why is that. First of all, we do care about the brilliance. We do care how much our stone works. And sometimes you would think that the amount of inclusions or the clarity of the stone or some other things would affect the brilliance of the stone. Well, in reality, the cut affects the brilliance of the stone the most. And here's why is it happening. Brilliance is basically the sparks right on the top of the stone, and here's why the cut affected a lot. When the light goes into the stone, let's imagine three different types of the cut. We're talking about the ideal cut over here and not ideal cuts on this side. Let's talk about the ideal one. An ideal cut mathematical model is built in a way that any type of light that's gonna go to the stone going to bounce from the wall of that stone and going to go out of it through the top part, through the window of the stone, right? And when this light is exiting the stone right over here, it meets the new light. And when it's happening, we have the spark right over here. And that's what we want. We want as much light as possible to go into the stone, bounce from the wall that is, again, mathematically perfectly aligned over here, and it has the perfect angle for it. It's going to bounce again and going to go out from that stone, and it will meet with the new light right over here, and it will create the spark. No matter from which direction the light is going to go over here, it's going to go through the window of the stone right over here, most of the light. And this stone would spark the most. Even though it might have the inclusions or even small cracks over here, still most of the light gonna go out through the top portion of the stone right here. And in this case, let's talk about the shallow cut, right? So let's say we have the same size of the window right over here, the top portion of the stone, but we have much shallow cut. What is going to happen over here? The light going to go into the stone, bounce from the wall, and exit the ring on the side. It might create a spark over here if we have the natural light bouncing towards this way. It doesn't really matter because we don't want the stone to spark right over here. It's irrelevant in our specific case because we're looking at we look into the engagement ring from the top, right? And we want the spark to be appearing like right over here, and it's not happening here. Of course, some of the light would go through the top. It might happen and might not, depending on the cut itself, but some light gonna go through the top and it will create few sparks, but obviously not as much as it is right over here. Why do we want to buy this kind of stone, for example? Why do we want to buy the shallow cut? Well, some people would look at this stone from the top and quickly realize that the size of the window itself, the size of the top portion, if you will, is identical to this cut. But because it's much shallow, because there is way less material, it weight less, right? And for that reason, it costs less. It's a good thing in a certain stone. For example, if you go in with, let's say, salt and pepper engagement ring right over here, and it's not a transparent stone, the light not going back and forth through this. In this specific case, knowing that, you can choose the shallow cut of that specific stone, because we don't really care about the brilliance over here. It's just not going to happen. We're just going to polish the stone. We're going to spark the way it is. Or let's say if we're talking about the mauve agate engagement ring right over here, same story. We're not going to care much about it, and we can sacrifice the depth of the stone and the brilliance of the stone right over here. But if we're talking about the transparent and engagement ring stones, let's say this white sapphire right over here, or this alexandrite right over here, we don't want to do that. We want to avoid this type of stone right over here, even though physically, like visually, it looks identical to this stone right over here. Second, the most common version you will see out there, that's going to be a deep cut right over here. Same story. The light gonna go into the stone, bounce from the wall, and it's probably going to exit on the side, not where we want it to exit. And it's going, might create a spark right over here, might create, might not, depending on the cut itself. But in any case, we don't really care, because we want to have the sparks right on the top of the stone. Again, why you might want to buy this type of stone. And the only reason why you might want to buy this kind of stone is you would make this purchase without knowing the specifics. For example, you're going to the store to buy the engagement ring out there, and seller would tell you like, hey, here's the amazing 2-carat stone, and it's 50% off just today, let's say. And they would be right. The weight of this stone is actually 2 carats, because it's quite deep. There is quite a lot of material. But when you're going to look from the top to the on this ring, you will quickly realize that the window of it is actually pretty small, because most of the material inside. So yes, you have 2-carat stone. Yes, it's much cheaper, but we have two very significant problems. It doesn't look as a 2-carat stone, and this is going to look like a 1.5 in an ideal cut, and it doesn't spark. Usually tall stones, they are pretty dull, they are completely dead in terms of sparks, and they also are pretty dark. And with that, I want to talk about the second thing, about the color and the tone. Color would depends on the length of light travel into the stone, if you will. So let's put it that way. The more light travel inside of the stone, then more color you're going to have. Why do you want to know this information? For example, you decided to cut emerald, beautiful natural green emerald, and you're choosing between the cuts. Let's say you want the round shape, but if you're going to go with the brilliant cut and cut it, specific of it would give you a very distinguishable dark areas in that stones. But if you're gonna go with the rose cut, for example, the light gonna travel much further inside of the stone, usually like 20% further in this stone. And because of that, you're going to have more color, and also you're going to have much more even tone of the ring. There is more specific into that. I'm obviously simplifying things, but in a few words, that's the way it's going to work. So the cut is not only going to affect the brilliance of the stone, it's going to affect your color, and it's also going to affect your tone. Not only because of the length of travel, but also because of the specifics of the cut. And let's talk about it further. So now let's talk about the most common cuts out there. And I know this might be complicated. You don't have to know all of this information. But you will see on the examples how important it is actually. First of all, and if you can save one piece of information in your head after watching this video, I want you to remember that the cut doesn't equal the shape of the stone. It's completely two different things, although lots of videos and lots of blogs out there would refer like it's the same thing. Not really. Shape of the stone is talking about the shape of the stone, right? Rectangular shape of the stone, for example, or the trillion shape of the stone, like right over here, or pier shape of the stone, like right over here, right? And the cut refers to the cut itself. For example, this is a step cut, and each cut would have their own specifics. For example, the step cut, it's when the facets parallel to girdle of the stone. Girdle is the widest portion of the stone right over here. At the same time, rectangular shape can be cutted in a radian cut, for example. No problem at all over here. Same for the round stone. It could be cutted in a step cut. It could be cutted in a brilliant. Without making a mess in your head, let's just go step by step through each and every cut over here. First one that I mentioned is the step cut. And that's that's the case when your facets is parallel to the girdle of the stone. When you just going with the step, if you would look at the side of the stone, you basically just go step by step all the way down to the bottom of the stone. What kind of stones usually cut in the step cut? Usually that's the spinels, tourmalines, garnets, any colorful stones. Why you might want to choose this cut? You want to choose this cut if you're going for the minimalistic style, or you're going for contemporary design, or for Art Deco, this kind of thing. When you want to highlight the choice of your design and refer to the certain era, when you visually going to see the stone, you would know what I mean over here. Next one is the usher cut, and usually the square stone or the cushion stones cut in the usher cut. Also, because of the specific of this cuts, and you will see on the image right now, you would want to cut your London topaz, for example, in the usher cut. It just looks absolutely beautiful in this case. You want to cut your moissanite, for example, and we have a beautiful customer 7-carat moissanite right over here. Cut it in the usher cut over here. You want to cut your garnet in that kind of way. Why do you want to choose the usher cut over any other? Let's say you're creating your custom engagement ring out there and you decided that you're going to go for the square shape. At the same time, your engagement ring is very minimalistic, right? Very straightforward lines. You don't have any curls going on over there. Then 99% you should go for the usher cut. It's just going to make a very balanced look of your engagement. That's what you want to choose over here. And I want you to think of the cut itself as the extension of the design of itself. You don't want to separate. You don't want to separate these two things and choose them one without consideration one of another. It's the whole thing, and your ring should look balanced in this specific case. Let's go further. Let's talk about the emerald cut over here. My favorite, actually. Emerald cut was created specifically to cut emeralds. That's why it has the similar name. Most of the time you will see the rectangular shapes with this specific cut. And you would want to cut your emeralds or diamonds or pretty much any other stones. The tourmalines is actually pretty common. But you also can see that we cut the moch agate engagement ring over here too in the emerald way. why do you want to choose the emerald over others? Well, first of all, it brings lots of light. And in our specific case, I'm going to show you on that specific example, on the example of the mauve agate engagement ring. We want to add as much possible into the stone. And we know that the mauve agate not that much transparent, or it doesn't spark as much. So that's why we chose it. We also chose it for the aesthetic reason. I just wanted to have as bigger window as possible out there so we can actually see the world of mauve agate over there. And also this type of cut naturally highlight the inclusions over there. And you want to use it to your advantage, or you want to just know about to avoid certain things. Let's say you went for the diamond and you want to cut it in the emerald cut. Probably you don't want to cut it, you just on the market for it, you're buying it. Well, you want to know that the emerald cut would highlight inclusions a lot. And you want to pay very close attention to the inclusions in that specific case, because emerald cut would highlight them a lot. At the same time, so in our specific case, when we did diamond emerald cut engagement ring, we were searching for the stone in our price range, and we were making sure that the inclusions can be hidden under the prongs, because otherwise they're going to be visible. If it's right in the middle, it's going to be very visible. On the opposite side, let's say with a brilliant cut, in a brilliant cut, it would be much less visible. On the opposite side, for the emerald, sometimes we would buy the emerald for the customer, and we would have the very specific tasks to highlight the inner world of the stone. We want to highlight the inclusions in that stone to show that it's a natural thing out there. We want to show the beauty of that specific stone. In that case, we're going to choose the emerald cut to highlight this inclusion. So it's always depends on your specific goal. Let's go further. Let's talk about the brilliant cut and the brilliant modified cut right over here. This is your most common cut out there for diamond engagement rings. 90% of the engagement rings, diamond engagement ring, cut in that specific way with the brilliant cut in the round shape. And again, you can use it towards your advantage. For example, you want to stand out, and probably if you're watching this YouTube channel, you want to have custom engagement ring, one of the kind engagement ring. And in that specific case, you would want to avoid the round shape, specifically in the brilliant cut. Or at the same time, you want to follow the trend. Well, in that case, you want to choose that specifically. What kind of stones can be cut in that shape? Well, pretty much any kind of stone can be cut. It's very commonly used, as I mentioned, in the diamond section over here. The sapphires usually cut it. In the brilliant cut over here, spinels as well. But at the same time, you want to know that some of the stones don't really like this specific combination of the cut and the shape. For example, emeralds, they're just going to give you a dark green spots here and there, and you would rarely see them actually cut in this specific shape, not only because of the colors, but also because you would lose quite a lot of materials in that specific case. But it's just not suitable for this specific stone. I don't want you to remember this specifically and to be gemologist by watching this video, but at the same time, I want you to be aware of this type of things. When we work with a customer, we always consult on the topics, on the choices of that specific stone or the other, how it's going to combine together. Like, we're going to talk with you through everything, so you don't have to remember all of that thing. So let's stop further. Let's talk about the radiant cut over here, and then we'll at last about the princess cut. Radiant cut, very simple, very easy to remember. You just combine the emerald cut and the brilliant cut together. And it's actually easy to choose in that kind of way too. For example, you're looking at the emerald cut, right? And you're not necessarily in love with the straight lines. It's too edgy for you. At the same time, you're looking at the brilliant cut and you're like, well, it's just too common. It might be not my thing too. Well, the radiant cut might be the best option for you because it's basically combined two worlds together. And right now you can see it on the screen and you can see what I mean by that. What kind of stones would be cutted in the radiant cut? Usually that's the sapphires, some tourmalines would be cutted in that specific cut, morganites. Sometimes you would cut your aquamarines and any other stones, actually. Emeralds can be cut in the radiant cut as well. Usually the specifics of the design of the engagement ring would determine whether you're going to go with this cut or not. And at the same time, your personal preference. Some people would see that cut and just fell in love with it specifically and just going to go with it. And the last one that I want to mention is the princess cut out there. Probably the most minimalistic cut out there, as simple as possible. If it's done right, it just brings lots of light into the stone. It's very symmetrical, as I mentioned, again, very simple. Usually this cut's used for your wedding bands. Let's say you want to have the diamonds or any other stone around your stone and you want it to be blended as much as possible into the metal. So you're going to go with the classic combination. You're going to go with the Chanel cut and the Chanel prongs and with the princess cut. At the same time, it always works great for the men's engagement ring. Let's say we're creating men's engagement ring, we want to highlight it as actually a manly piece of art. We would choose the princess cut in this specific case because of the simplicity of that specific cut. I hope with this video, instead of creating a mess in your head, I just gave you some food for thoughts. Now you know that there's plenty of different cuts out there, and I haven't even mentioned artist cuts, for example, because with all of the technologies that we have right now, laser cutting and so forth, we can create any type of cut, and they don't even have the name. They usually named after the artist who created them. But I want you to know that when you're creating your unique engagement ring, absolutely unique piece of art for your unique person, you're absolutely limitless with everything out there. I just want you to know that instead of buying what every other person has, you can create absolutely unique piece of art and present it to that specific unique person. And that's my philosophy. Thank you so much, guys, for watching this video. I hope you like this new setup and going to evolve from one video to another. Let me know if you in the comments if you like it, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.